Get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, and welcome to another viewer spotlight, except this isn't really a viewer spotlight. This is actually one that I kind of solicited. This was a replay that got posted in the stream chat one evening, and it just looked so good. I mean, just the score results looked so good that I actually contacted the guy that played the game, Daredevil CZ, and asked him if he wouldn't mind if I had it on my channel. So here it is, and yeah, it's going to be a cracker. He gets lucky once or twice. He also makes a few mistakes, but fortunately they aren't ones that are too bad, or they are mistakes that he gets away with. But on the whole, this was a rather well played game. When you see the end results, you will think so too. So he's in an IS. He is on Westfield, and this isn't my favourite map, but he's top tier and there's only one artillery per side, so it's actually, the circumstances are pretty good. And he's been able to right away get into the town. He's on his own, which is sometimes not a good idea when you've got a gun with a relatively long reload, but it actually pays off because the enemy team are kind of derpy, and some members of his team are actually derpy as well. There is a T50, T25 even /2 that is AFK the whole match, so they're already a tier 7 down. But on the other side, this guy, this T29 that we saw just then, he basically stays at the back the whole time. And there's a couple of these people that are just sat in the middle of the field. Personally, I'm not quite sure what went up in that northwest corner, because with how the other team were playing, I have the feeling that they should have been able to outplay these guys, but clearly they were as bad. Well, worse for the most part. The two best players are, unsurprisingly, Daredevil, and actually that Tog 2 that is also in town, who is Seahorse, I think his name is. So it's kind of going to be it's two derpy teams, and Daredevil gets to pick up the pieces quite nicely. So he's getting some nice shots in here. Unfortunately, that Tiger missed. When he did make a slight mistake at that SU-152. Personally, I would have aimed. You get a shot at the side of a tank destroyer like that, you always try and aim for the axle and track them as well as damaging them. Because if he tracked the SU-152, he maybe could have gotten a second shot into the guy and finished him off. But he's still, you know, there's the SU-100Y and a KV-1S to his left, which is tangling with the Tog, and Daredevil maybe should have paid more attention to those guys, but he's still concentrating on the stuff that's on the field, and maybe because there's a couple of targets that are just in the open, they're not taking cover, like this T29. Yeah, we shall see more of him later. So yeah, to be fair, he can't really wow, he knows the SU-100Ys there, and that bounce, so that's one of the really lucky parts, bouncing an SU-100Y. KV-1S there as well, but he doesn't have the top gun, so he fires and bounces off the IS armour. If the SU-100Y had hit his front armour, that would have hurt, but fortunately I think, can we see where that bounced? I think that hit like the mud guard, maybe? I'm not quite sure how, but that was a really lucky bounce. And those hit points are going to come in useful later. So all his friendlies that were on that corner are now dead. And it's 5-8, and it's not looking that good. And the enemy team, well, that's one less Tiger to worry about. Enemy team, instead of, you know, they outnumber him. And he's sort of near the Tog but separated, and there's an IS. No, wow, stock turret and possibly stock gun on that thing as well. So that wasn't even a threat, even if he'd been looking at Daredevil. But they could have rushed him, basically. And it was that passivity, that letting him just pop out of cover and shoot at them. That's fatal. The only remaining tank now that's not nearby, that isn't the Tog, is, you know, the only non-AFK tank is Panther on the K line, and there is a KV-13 going for cap, and I don't know if Daredevil noticed this, This is by far the biggest mistake he makes this match. He's okay. Oh yes, okay, SU. I'm going to deal with that first. Don't know what happened there. That shot went really wild. I don't know if that was... maybe Daredevil doesn't play with the server reticle on. Maybe that sometimes results in shots going completely wild. But he took a hit from that, and there is now somebody on the cap. And yeah, like I said, this is where he makes his big mistake. Instead of turning around and going for the cap like the Tog is trying to, Tog will not get there in time because Tog is not fast enough, unfortunately. He's still trying to spot this T-29, and we know this guy is all the way at the back of the map. He's an A5. He's clearly not a good player. He's not a threat to anybody, and Daredevil wastes precious time trying to get what is a very, very unlikely shot. Now we're about 45 seconds away from being capped by that KV-13, and Daredevil is finally on the move. This is going to be incredibly tight if he can make it. Now Tog has finished off the KV-1S, and I think I said that Tog player actually gets the second best score of anybody in the match. He gets, I think, the second best damage of anybody in the match. So that yeah, that guy knew what he was about. He knew his business. The yeah, this is looking incredibly unlikely. He's less than 10 seconds, nearly 5 seconds. He doesn't even have time to fully aim his gun here. So wow. Okay, breathe a sigh of relief. Well, it's 10-13, but 10-14. Look what's left at this point. We have a T-29 that we know is a bad player. We have a KV-13 who is still on the cap for some reason. Not sure what this guy's doing. He knows there's an angry IS coming towards him. And the KV-13 and the IS actually have the same hull armor, but the KV-13 I think gets 85mm guns. So, yeah, he's less likely to bounce these shells. He doesn't run for cover at all. He doesn't run for cover, and... But unfortunately, Daredevil, I wouldn't call this a mistake, but he... I think he's starting to feel the pressure, and he flubs too many of these shots. So that one bounces off the frontal armour. He's already shot one into the tracks, and to be fair, that was on the move, but he's got the time to sit and aim these shots, and he doesn't do it very well. We can also see on the minimap the T-29 is on the move and finishing off that AFK T-25. That one was an auto bounce angle, that went into the side armour. This is the other slight mistake he's making here. He keeps backing out of cover from this house. That potentially exposes him to artillery fire, and he gets lucky in that Artie isn't trying to shoot him, but anyway, one more shot and we've got this KV-13, and he just needs to have the patience. And I'm not holding this too much against him because I know what it's like in those situations. The adrenaline's going, your hands are shaking, yeah. So he's got an 8 PCR shell loaded for this T-29, and T-29 shoots him and it bounces, and we know this guy's not a good player. There we go. And that's the kind of clutch situation where you need to use that crucial situation where you need to use yeah, this PZ3NA was actually one of the best players on the enemy team. I'm just judging on the fact that he's in a crappy little tier 4 scout, and he, you know, top tier, that tank's okay. As a scout, it's terrible. He keeps trying regardless. He was peppering Daredevil with shots. He kept plugging away at his rear armor, hoping to do some damage. Even now, look at this, he's using the cover of that tank. He's keeping Daredevil lit up for artillery. Fortunately, their artillery cannot hit him, but absolute, you know, kudos to this guy. That was the smartest I've seen any of the enemy team's players actually play, and he did not give up even when it was clear that his position was hopeless. He kept trying, so kudos to that guy. We're now at 5 even K damage. That's quite impressive. You know, on any tank that's impressive. On it may be slightly easier with this gun because it's a high alpha gun, but still, he's made those shots count, and he's actually almost out of ammunition. He does make some more mistakes here. There's artillery left, and he is giving himself away when he knocks stuff over like that. If you are driving through obstacles, in this kind of situation, you know, even if artillery is taking wild guess shots, you're making their job so much easier if you're driving through stuff like that. They can then lead where they think you're going to be, especially if it's between buildings and that kind of situation. So he got lucky there, I would say, definitely. But yeah, the only chance the RT has now, given that he didn't take any shots, so there's another tree over. You always try and avoid that stuff when you're in this situation. Just avoid it anyway if there's artillery that you might, you know, if you know you're not spotted and there's artillery. Anyway, but 2 shells left, and I was thinking as I watched this first time through, I would be tempted to actually just fire one into the ground and get a fade-ins medal. And yeah, that would be stupid though, because that's taking a hell of a risk. If you fire and miss at the RT, what have you got left? I don't know, you could ram them to death maybe, but oh, well, he didn't aim fully. RT missed. That was a critical, probably on the gun, or maybe the tracks. It's hard to tell from this distance. It's an HE shell, and he's taking the time to fully aim, and there we go. Bam! Oh, wow, that match, hey? Let's take a look at the scores, because that was some seriously impressive stuff, I thought. We have got over 5k damage. We have got, in fact, 5.4k damage. Potential damage received was 4.1k, just about. Not really any spotting damage, but that doesn't matter. Base defense points, 196. Base capture points, 16, because it was sat in the end there. Yeah, the shells he fired, most of them hit what he was aiming at. Most of them penned as well, so that's crucial to getting that amount of damage. The medal count is truly impressive. Let's run through this. Okay, he's got his ace tanker, he's got fade-ins medal, he's got a cool-headed, he's got pools medal, which I've never managed. I've come close once, but I've never managed that. 10 kills. Steel wall, top gun, and defender. And he made 91, nearly 92k profit on a regular tier 7 tank, and that was with premium. But yeah, that is impressive. You know, 92k profit. Even without premium, he would have made 2000 XP, and that's not with a double. That's just flat out 2000 XP. And you may have noticed in the chat at one point he said, I hated this tank up until now. Well, hopefully you like it a bit better, because that was a truly impressive performance, Daredevil. And you had a couple of lucky moments and a couple of derpy moments, but on the whole, that was very well done, and you kept your nerve pretty well the whole way through. So you can see why I solicited this game, because it looked impressive on paper, and watching it was also impressive. And if you thought this was impressive, you can leave some feedback. I'm sure Daredevil would be pleased to hear anything you might say. You can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.